All right, welcome. It's time for us to talk sports once again on Global Television. My name is Anthony Momodu, the King of Sport, and I'm ready, loaded with all the big stories making the rounds in the exciting world of sport. I'll be taking you to the Olympics and into the transfer market, where lots of stories are being as regards purchase of players moving from one club to the other. Nigerian players are not also left out in the course of getting new clubs. We know that Kelechi Iheanacho, for instance, is already with Sevilla in Spain, so that's a big move for that young man. Some say he's not young, they call him senior in the national team. Also, we've got that Samuel Omorojon is likely to move to Chelsea. That's one of the big stories in the transfer market, so we'll be looking into that. And also, we'll not forget our super the Tigress, who did amazing, beating Canada 79-70 as they square up against the might of the Americans in the quarterfinals, as we hope to also touchlight the issue of boxing. We've got the former president of the Nigerian Boxing Federation and the person of Anazia, Omo Agege, who will be talking to us live on this program to give us the clear picture why Nigerian boxers couldn't do well at the Paris 2024 Olympics. I will not be doing this alone. I've got one of the finest sports journalists in Nigeria. He's good with his analysis, even though at a point there was a dispute as regards his age limit, if he was playing according to his football age or the real age. All right, I'm joined in the studio by Mazino Dixon. Masino, so I just have to put that so that when they see your white beards, they can get the clear picture of what's played out.
Should I tell them that we're both teammates?
You
want me to tell them where I'm coming from?
All right, nice to have you in
my pleasure.
You're looking blue like Chelsea.
Oh my God.
Are you Chelsea?
No, I'm a Liverpool fan.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I think we should start from there.
Okay.
Liverpool did bash Manchester United 3-0. Is that a good signal for Arne Slot? And is that another representation as regards how unprepared Man U season is going to be?
Well, the truth is, we cannot 100% say that the preseason is a precursor to what to expect when the full season starts. Remember, Manchester United, they have Community Shield clash against Manchester City.
Sure.
And of course, Ten Hag is trying to dot the I's and cross the T's.
Yeah.
And definitely for Liverpool, you see that most of the players that played were from the youth team or the team B. So they all wanted to impress. So there was that extra. I remember what Manchester United did to Liverpool last season. They basically stopped Liverpool mounting the challenge both for FA Cup and the Premier League. So they had a lot to prove. And for Slot, he has tried to introduce a new system that is not so high-pressing like that of Jurgen Klopp, his predecessor. What he has done is he has gone for the typical Dutch system, but it's fluid. So Liverpool can change from 4-2-4, 4-3-2-1, 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2. Just depends, and it depends on the opposition. So if you watch their match against Arsenal, against Manchester United, you could see that variation in play. So far so good. As a Liverpool fan, I'm happy. But the question is, can they carry that form into the season? Yes, we know Darwin Nunez did not play. Mo Salah is just coming back. So other players will also come in, Alisson and the like. It's going to be a tough one for Slot. For Liverpool, next season may not necessarily be like, can we win the Premier League? It will be more like, can we at least go far in the Champions League, maintain top 4, and maybe pick one cup. Then after that season, which will be the audition for the Dutchman, then we can now say, okay, let's see what happens. But already there are reports that Liverpool wants to go into the transfer market. They want to buy the Georgian keeper, the one that kept at Euros 2024. They see him as a long-term successor to Alisson. So that tells you that Slot is not here to play. He wants to prove a point, but as time will go on, we shall see when the season kicks off.
All right, we shall see when the season kicks off. We'll be looking at very interesting stories making the rounds already. Like I said, we'll be talking to the former Nigerian Boxing Federation president in the person of Azania Omo Agege, who to get his take as regards why Nigerian boxers didn't do well at the Olympics. So we'll go for a quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be talking to our guest and we'll be dishing all the big stories from the Olympics. Stay with us.
It's time for sports' biggest moments on global television. The headlines, scores, breaking news, and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses, and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns, and victories. Talk Sports with the King of Sports, Anthony Momodu. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out. Beautiful!
All right, welcome back from that break. It's time for us to talk to our guest, who is the former Nigerian Boxing Federation president in the person of Azania Omoagege, to help us touchlight what went wrong at the Olympics when Nigerian boxers couldn't do just well. But before we talk to him, Mazino, let's look at boxing. You did express your displeasure with how bad the Nigerian boxers performed at the Olympics.
Very bad. It was a bad performance laced with hiccups, where one of our boxers had to be suspended because of drugs, and it was just bad. It was bad through and through, and we really need to go back, as we always say, to that proverbial drawing board, because boxing used to be one of the most prestigious sports for Nigerians, really, when going for international meets, and we have good pugilists. There's no doubt about it. I think what is missing is to get the cutting edge in terms of training, in terms of exposure, and also having the opportunity from that exposure sense to compete against other would-be boxers.
All right. I
wouldn't mind if Nigeria even has to go as far as getting Cuban coaches. Maybe we'll have to go Cuban or Southpaw. I don't know.
All right. Hello, good morning, Mr. Azania Omoagege. Thank you for joining us on Talk Sports.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. All right, let's look at it. We're trying to x-ray Nigerian boxers, their performance at the Olympics. From the interview you had with the media, you did point out certain reasons why Nigerian boxers didn't do well in terms of preparations. What do you think actually went wrong in Paris?
Oh, thanks for asking me. Anyway, very good question. First of all, this all started with actually preparations. We do have good boxers, but our outing this time around was very dismal, and to me, very disgraceful because of the politics involved in the boxing, and that's what led to all what we're seeing right now. If you ask me, and that's just my opinion, though, and I'm not happy about it. I think we should actually have a rethink, come up with some investigations to see how this time around boxing is doing well. Boxing has been one of the sports that has been making Nigeria proud. We've got about 6 Olympic medals from boxing so far, from time immemorial. And I didn't see any reason why this time around we could not even come up with anything. Not even just coming up with medals, but even partaking in the event because of doping issues. So I'm not happy about this at all, and I'm very, very disappointed.
All right. In some quarters, it's been you've been accused that the decline in our boxing started during your reign, especially after the suspension of then President Kenneth Minima by the International Boxing Association. Do you think that the problem started from your era? How would you describe your era as the president?
Oh, that's a very good question. We're not trying to apportion blame here, but at least let me tell you the story about all this. Right now, as we speak, I'm the interim president of the Nigerian Boxing Federation, and we have a full board, which is a complete board that has been running boxing for a while. It all started when I was the then vice president of the Boxing Federation, and President General Minima was my president then. So he had a 12 years tenure, which had elapsed, going on the 13th year. And I actually told him that, well, Oga, your tenure has elapsed, so I think it's time to step aside. Just my suggestion led to a lot of things, and they started fighting me from the board, including himself, General Minima, who didn't want to leave. So since that time, there's been infighting. At that time, Nigerian Boxing Federation belonged to IBA, which we've been with for about 40 years. Because of all this infighting, they left and went to another world body called World Boxing. So since then, there's been fights and everything. But I didn't want to get into any fight with them. I just had to just keep quiet because the tenure of the board will be ending in 2 months from now, just after the Olympics. So since then, there's a certain coach called Coach Adura, who I don't even know to be a coach because I've never seen his certificates. We have a coach called Coach Tony, who's been a national coach for all these years and has been doing very well. He was the one who qualified the boxers for the African competition in Ghana, All African Games, and we did very well. Came back from there with 9 medals. So when this time around came, they went to camp. They dropped Coach Tony for no reason, just because he was being up front. Coach Adura and some of his people went to play politics and carried these boxers to Paris. And now we see the result. You see, so I don't see how a coach taking boxers to France and you're asking him what happened and he's distancing himself from boxers who they caught for doping. When you catch when a boxer is involved in doping, what do you do as a coach? Who trained the boxer? Who was feeding the boxer? Does the boxer not drink water, juices, and things like that? Did you at any time monitor all these things? What is the reason for camping? Why you put them in camp if you can't take care of them? So he cannot distance himself from anything when it comes to the boxing and the doping issue. So yes, I'm partly to be blamed because we're all board members, so we all accept this, but there has to be a thorough investigation into what actually transpired and let the chips fall where it may.
All right, let's, aside from this, we also witness that technicalities were some of the issues the Nigerian boxers faced, like they were not up to date with modern day technicalities and how scores are being counted or points are being counted by judges. What do you have to say about that?
That is, you see, I'll go back again to the inexperience of the coach that they carried. I'm not being funny here, but Coach Tony is our national coach, and he has been the one carrying all these boxers everywhere for competitions. He's very conversant with day-to-day rules of the game, and then when you carry an inexperienced boxer who wants to actually be a ring man, leading your boxer to the ring itself, that doesn't know the rules, what do you expect? If Coach Tony had gone to the competition, you wouldn't be getting all this right now, because he knows exactly what to do. But he was dropped. Why was he dropped? Those are things we have to look into. So the boxers are not inexperienced. We have very good boxers. They've been to several competitions outside the country, so they know the rules itself. But they have to be guided, and they have to be guided by a coach. And who's that coach? What happened? Did he do his job? So these are things we have to look into. But if you talk about experience, boxers have the experience. And we have very, very good boxers. That I could assure you. It's just the lack of the coaching that led to all this something that we're seeing right now.
All right, what's the way forward now with what has happened now? Is there any plan by the Federation to to bring all the warring factions together to ensure that going forward, the Nigerian boxing family is united and we get the best from our boxers?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it'd be nice to bring all the warring factions together, but the board will be ending in 2 months from now, so there'll be a new board coming in. And I think the new board from there, we take it up from there and see what happens and look for a way forward for boxing, because this is not the boxing this is not the boxing that I know. It's just getting out of hands. Too many politics involved, and it's not right.
Okay, finally, before we let you go, let's look at how would you describe the government's interference in this whole of this? Wasn't the government, the sports minister, aware of this infighting? And what role did they play to see that the right persons were taken to Paris and that Coach Tony wasn't, sidelined at the end of the day when it matters most?
This is a very good question, but first of all, I want to let you know that the sports minister has been doing a great job. He's hands-on when it comes to boxing because he loves boxing himself. Well, there's been several issues that he actually maybe didn't want to get into until maybe when they come back from Paris. And Coach Tony's issue came up very, very late. And when it was being discussed, I don't know how to put this to you, but like I told you, there's a lot of politics involved. Coach Tony was the coach who was supposed to go there. That's why I said that there has to be an investigation into it to see exactly what happened. Coach Tony is our national coach. You just don't drop a coach like that for no reason. So the Secretary General of the Federation has questions to answer. Coach Adura has questions to answer. The Technical Director, Femi, has questions to answer. So they have to really find out and not just answer, they should also take the blame for what happened. So nobody should distance themselves from anything at all. You don't just pour blames on boxers. If you're involved, you take the blame too and you get your punishment. But for the sports minister, he's doing a great job and he loves boxing. I don't think he's a very happy man regarding the boxing results.
Okay, for you, on your own part, what blame are you taking and why didn't you speak out earlier on before things went south?
A very good question. I wanted peace to reign, so that's why I didn't come out to even try fight that the interim president. This one says you're not the president. I didn't want that. I wanted them to just let everything go subtly, and when they come back from Paris, then we now sit down and talk. So that's why I didn't get myself involved. It would be as if I'm trying to fight them going to Paris or whatever. So I took a back seat. That's exactly what happened.
Because some persons describe you as a factional president, so are we likely to see an elections coming up as one of the factional presidents, so to say?
Well, I like that word when they use factional president. That's exactly what they are trying to say. But by the rules of the law and by the law and our constitution, I'm the interim president of the Nigerian Boxing Federation. I might be a factional president to him. That's what I was trying to tell you. Since a lot of the body is split, we don't have any problem going to Paris. That's why I didn't get myself involved. I just wanted them to be and they go come back. But in 2 months, the board will be dissolved. And once it's dissolved, the entire board is out. A new board comes in.
That's including you yourself?
Not myself, because I'm a member of I'm a director of the African body, which is the AFBC. And according to our rules and regulations when it comes to elections, once you're a director, that meaning I'm the most senior international representative of boxing in Nigeria. So I'm automatically back on the board itself. Then we'll go for an election, a proper election then. And whoever wants to run for president then that wins and a new board comes in, I think that new board will be more serious and take things more seriously about boxing and try to revive boxing. At that time, there'll be no issues again. But there'll be proper elections to be conducted, yes, by the ministry.
All right, I want to say thank you, Azania, for joining us within that short notice to speak on the performance of Nigeria's pugilist at the Paris 2024 Olympics. And hopefully, we'll have you in the live studios before the new board is set up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thanks for your questions.
All right, we're talking to the interim president of the Nigerian Boxing Federation in the person of Azania Omo Agege, shedding light as regards why Nigerian boxers couldn't do well at the Paris 2024 Olympics. All right, Mazino, you heard everything spot on. For you, do you think he's been sincere in his stand, not wanting more, division in the boxing family? That was why he stood down. And are you satisfied with his, explanations?
Well, as a neutral person, it would have been nice to also hear from the other side.
Yeah.
But from what he has said, there's an underlying issue: politics. Remember, this is what affected our basketball federation. Because of politics, the Tigress couldn't go for the World Cup. Because of politics, the Tigers were neither here nor there. Because of politics, our local league was put on hold. Now you can see, yes, it's good to, like I said, to hear from all that, but it's clear that something was wrong. You could see there was a disjointed approach by our boxing team. Even when our boxer was found to have failed
the drug test,
there was no official response. There was no coordination. Nobody was taking up responsibility or ownership for the mishap. You understand? So definitely there has to be serious in-house cleaning in our boxing industry. It's very sad because I feel so much for our boxers, both male and female. We have good boxers. You only need to see some of the international events that are hosted here in Abuja, in Lagos, in Ghana, and even other African countries. And you see that Nigerian boxers always come out tops. So the question is, it's not about do we have the resources, the human resources for boxing? Of course we do. The problem is, do we have the organization to back up the talent? For now, the answer is no.
We saw that happen to Favour Philly, where due to administrative ineptitude, they didn't feed her in for the 100 meters event.
Yes, and she now had to concentrate, and fortunately she has qualified for the finals of the 200. But you see, I don't know why we're like this in this country. Our sports administrators seem to be more focused on the largesse of office, and that's what's more important to them. And it's not just Nigeria, it's an African problem. Look at a country like, is it Cameroon or one of these, Zimbabwe. You had only 6 athletes, but you had 67 delegates. Like, what are they going there to do? Waste of money. So at the end of the day, we have to make up our mind. Do we really want to make our sport work? If so, let the professionals take over. And that's why I like the idea of private concerns running sports. You can see from our local football, a team like Remo Stars that is being run by a businessman. Look at the organization, look at the flow, and you are seeing the results, and they are churning out talents. What should happen eventually going forward is government should take its hands off sports. They can only support when it comes to logistics, diplomatic access for our sportsmen and women and the officials. But most importantly, let the business community take charge of sports: boxing, athletics, basketball, football, wrestling, canoeing, what have you. Because, Anthony, trust me, the only ways you can get the best out of sports is having people that are interested in the growth of the game in terms of resources. not how much am I pulling out, how much resources am I pulling out from that sporting activity? Because that seems to be the problem. That's why we're always having factions, lockdowns, and what have you. That has to be addressed.
On the final note, let's talk in boxing now. How does this affect the pugilist and the boxing, Nigerian boxers as a whole? The fact that they went to the Olympics, couldn't even compete or even conquer.
Definitely to have a negative impact. Absolutely. I would plead with our boxers that went to the Olympics, like, it's not your fault. You qualified, but the thing is, the preparations needed to succeed, you didn't get it. The cooperation needed to ensure that you could stand toe-to-toe with other boxers, it wasn't there. Due to no fault of yours. So what they just need to do is get abreast with what's happening in the boxing world, keep improving their skill set. Like I said, if it means we also have to even get, well, we have good boxing coaches. I'm not going to fault them, but if need be, if we have to get support from countries like Cuba or from Eastern Europe, or as most the boxing world is going now, Southpaw, American, fine. We need to do that, or possibly get Nigerians, or
go train in Cuba.
Go train in Cuba, or get people of Nigerian descent from these countries to come here. Like, you see, the reason why our basketball is succeeding now is that, one, you have lots of Nigerians that were born in the United States of Nigerian descent coming back home. Even our local basketball league is now impacting. You saw what Rivers Hoops did at the African Championship, coming third, because a lot of returnees came in to help us. So we may have to key into that, because people coming from that climb, they are results oriented. They are not looking for money. Yes, the money and other things are added, but you know, the
main focus.
The main focus is the sport. The main focus is, I want to make a mark. And so that's why you see they go the extra mile. Sometimes even when they know that, okay, we have our administrative lapses, they still go ahead because they love it. It's passion. It's passion, commitment, and support. That's all.
All right, let's give you some big stories that are making the rounds. Haven't spoken of boxing thus far. Let's move on to the big story that some matches were played yesterday at the Olympics in the football event, talking about the semi-finals where substitute Joan Lu Sanchez struck a late winner. Spain came from behind to beat Morocco 2-1 and reached the final of the Olympics men's football. Morocco had led in the semi-final through Sofiane Rahimi penalty towards the end of the first half at the start the Velodrome in Marseille. However, Barcelona's Fermin Lopez equalized midway through the second period and then set up Sevilla right-back Sanchez to fire in the winner. It is Spain's second straight appearance in the final of the Olympics men's football. They had to settle for silver 3 years ago in Tokyo after losing in extra time to Brazil. Spain, who are chasing a second gold after triumphing in Barcelona in 1992, go to Paris for the final on Friday against either host. Yes, they'll be going against France in the final, who play their last four tie. Morocco, obviously, what do you think happened to, first of all, for Spain, do you think Morocco had the finals in their hands and threw it away?
They did, but credit to Spain. I have to admit right now that they are the best playing football nation in the world. It's so obvious. Most of these players now playing for the Olympics, they're not even names you really know.
No, yeah, they're not the first team stars for Spain.
But there is a football culture. Morocco, credit to Morocco. Morocco is also doing good. It's just that Spain, they have a slight edge over Morocco, and they got it done. For Morocco, the penalty goal they scored, that was the 5th penalty awarded for the Olympics, which they converted. And of course, after scoring that goal, they sat back and wanted to absorb pressure and play the typical North African counter. Playing at the Velodrome in Marseille was like a home game for the Moroccans. You know, the Moroccan crowds in France. But Spain is Spain. They play fantastic football. The winning goal by Lopez, coming from the right, took out the fullback that was trying to stop him and laid that pass for Sanchez to slot in the winner. Fantastic, fantastic. And if the Spaniards win, this will be their second triumph. They won in 1992, like you said. They finished runners-up in 2000 to another African country, Cameroon. And now they also finished runners-up to Brazil in Tokyo. Now they have a chance to go a whole hog. The second match, well, France did their thing. They conceded their first goal of this Olympics under Thierry Henry, but with Olise has turned out to be one of the revelations of the football event. 5 assists and 1 goal.
For aside the Spain match which Egypt did, in terms of the France game, do you think France was destined to win that game, or it was just Egypt that probably just lost steam?
At some point, you know, the Egyptians, if you follow the build-up to this tournament, they beat Spain in the group stage, mind you. They beat Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
They beat Panama on penalty. So they are a very compact defensive side. But against an all-explosive France, I mean, it was always going to be a big ask. And you know, France playing before their home crowd, it was always going to be a tough one. Remember, there was a penalty shout that the referee turned. And so, look, give it to France. They are on fire. As someone would say, at least Africa has one last chance to win a gold medal, because France is like an African team, basically.
But looking at that French team, can we give kudos to Thierry Henry
for
the assembling of those players and for Matete? That's a player who was in the Premier League.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah, Crystal Palace. Yes, he did score some goals last season, but wasn't looking like an extraordinary player. What do you think gave Thierry Henry that confidence that this man could lead the French team to success?
If you notice, towards the end of last season, he actually picked up for Crystal Palace. Because Crystal Palace, they started pulling down trees everywhere, and they finished respectively. And they're credit to their Austrian coach. And Olise too stepped up his game. You have to give it to Matete. He had the opportunity, he took it. Now France is spoiled with an abundance of more firepower. So they're not just going to rely on Griezmann, they're not going to rely on Mbappe, they're not going to just rely on Dembele. It means they have other people coming up. Olise, sad loss for Nigeria, because with what he has done.
No, but did he really want to play for Nigeria? He had his father, if the father really wanted him, because he has a very huge influence on him. If he really wanted him to play for Nigeria, I think he would have swayed him.
The truth is, Olise seemed to actually want to play more for Algeria. He seemed, because his mom is Algerian, so he seemed to have that inclination. But France, being where he was born, of course, it was, you know, for him, he looked at it that, look, at that point in time, like especially the Euros, France was already stacked up. I mean, they have all the names. I don't have to mention them here. So a leeway would have been Algeria. However, Thierry Henry now came to him and said, look, calm down. We're hosting the Olympics. Come. And he has taken the opportunity with both hands. Definitely, he was most likely not going to play for Nigeria, because for some of these players, let's be very honest, you've grown up in an environment. You were born and bred in a certain climate. And so you see yourself in that, with that identity. And you have had no real contact with your ancestral fatherland. Yeah. So it's a tall ask. The players, you see that...
But the Nigerian Football Federation do enough to want to woo him to play for Nigeria?
Well, it seems their attention was somewhere else. And, you know, see, Anthony, this is my problem. The NFF did not do much at all. You know why I say so? Remember, I've been coming on this show and I've mentioned one problem consistently with our national team. A playmaker. For some reason, I'm sorry to say it, I'm on air, but I'll say it has been politicized, whether you want to believe it or not. You can't tell me after almost 3-4 years since Mikel left, we cannot get a ready replacement. Why are they gambling? If they were really serious, they would have gone half. For Olise, they would have done everything, incentives, but they were not interested because it has been politicized. Because they know he's not an out-and-out striker. Not necessarily an attacking midfielder or a support striker, more like a playmaker. They don't want, they know what they're doing.
So was it because of Iwobi? They didn't want a competition for Iwobi?
I wouldn't bet that far off, because, look, Iwobi is good, but is he the best playmaker Nigeria has? The answer is capital no. Look, I have said it before. Iwobi plays more on an advanced role, closer to the striker, not really in the midfield or sitting back. But like I said, they have politicized it, because since Austin Okocha left, there has really been no effort to get somebody to... After Mikel, we basically had to beg him to play number 10, and because it was on a platter of gold, he really was nonchalant until maybe towards the end when he was about to retire. Before then, he was not really committed. Let's say it here. But the fact is, they have politicized it. They deliberately are leaving that slot for, what's his name? It will be, okay, now, if he gets injured, he suffers a long-term injury, who are you going to put there now?
All right, very sad commentary there. Let's give you some more stories as we head towards the business end of the program. Let's say that Team Nigeria looks set to win their first set of medals at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games on Tuesday. That's today, with the sprinter Favour Ofili competing in the women's 200 meters, while wrestler Blessing Oborodudu will be competing for bronze in the women's 68 kilogram freestyle. Ofili ran a new season best of 22.05 seconds to book her place in the final, coming second behind a new 100 meters champion Julian Alfred in the first semi-final. She beat her 22.24 seconds, which she ran in the heat on Sunday. She becomes the second Nigerian after shot put Chukwu Ebuka Enekweche to make the final in the track and field event of the 2024 Olympics. The 21-year-old is also the first Nigerian woman to qualify for the final of the 200 meters at the Olympics in 28 years. The last time the Nigerian made the final of the women's 200 meters was during the Atlanta 1996 Games when Mary Onyale won a bronze medal. She had the third fastest time in the semi-finals behind Julian Alfred, 21.98 seconds. While Gabi Thomas had 21.86 seconds. Ofili will run the final in lane 3 and will contend with other athletes like Great Britain's Dari Enete and Dina Asha Smith, whom she beat in the heat. Meanwhile, Oborodudu suffered a narrow 3-1 defeat to Kazakhstan's Mariam Zarova in the semifinals of the women's 68 kilogram freestyle wrestling on Monday night. Yes, I caught you.
About I was watching as you were saying it.
Yes, that name quite long, but yes, we got it right there. Let's look at Ofili and Oborodudu. Oborodudu, though she lost in the freestyle against Kazakhstan, but she's still in for a shout. But for Ofili, how impressed are you? She's going to be facing Great Britain, Asha Smith.
No problem. I fancy her getting at least a medal. If she puts in her all, she could go the whole way. I think she put the disappointment of not making the 100 meters behind her and channeled her energy to make a point, because 200 meters is longer, it's times 2 of that. So she definitely felt fired up and she put in the match of her life, the run of her life, and she did well. So credit to her. For Oborodudu, well, having 3 fights in one day, I think that was rather too much.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, okay, normally, like you have for the athletics, once you've had a fight, you go, the next fight is the following day, like that. But having 3, definitely some exhaustion. Remember, she also suffered a head collision, and so she was already shaking. Credit to her. Credit to her. Credit to Bayelsa State government that has made traditional wrestling their forte, and credit to the Commissioner for Sports, Igali, because being being the president of the Nigerian Wrestling Federation, having won gold for Canada, still came back to Nigeria, and he has made Bayelsa like the home for preparing our wrestlers. And it has yielded fruits, whether it's Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games, All Africa Games, and Blessing has been consistent, and I know she will prove a point to get that medal. As for Ofili, keep focused, don't allow anything distract you. You have put the worst behind you. You were sabotaged, whether intentionally or not, but you put it behind you and you have made us proud. You are in the final. Go out there and make a final statement. Seal the deal, and we'll come home and also sort out the mess that is bedeviling some of our sporting associations.
All right, well said. We hope the minister would do the needful and sanction those who made it impossible for Favour Ofili to be part of the 100 meters event. All right, to give you big stories coming out from the Olympics. The national record holder in the men's 400 meters hurdles in the person of Ezekiel Natali has set his sights on gold medal after qualifying for the semi-finals of the event at the Paris 2024 Olympics. Natalya had an impressive run from lane 3 to place second in 48.38 seconds, his fourth fastest time ever to qualify for the semi-finals, which is taking place today. Meanwhile, Jamaica's Russian Clark won the race in 48.17 seconds, and France's Wilfred Hapio took last automatic spot in 48.42 seconds. Natalya is the first Nigerian athlete in 12 years to make the semi-finals of the 400 meters hurdles at the Olympics, and the 21-year-old is hoping to do much better than Amechi Morton at London 2012 and Henry Amike at Los Angeles 1984. How big a task is it for Ezekiel?
It's a big one. It's a big one. Yeah. But
looking at the age on his side?
Age on his side, determination and focus. I think it's good. Our track team so far, they are doing well. I'm quite impressed. Like, they've competed. They are competing. What the track team has done is they focus on the strengths of Nigeria in that particular aspect of sporting. And for Ezekiel, please, you can do this. You can do this. You are just 21. Yeah. You have like 3 more cycles of Olympics to still do something, at least till you are 30. So definitely this is the opening shot for you to put your name on the world map, put Nigeria's name there, and come out tops. You can do this. Yeah.
Let's look at Ezekiel. Do you think the issue of inexperience might play against him?
It's possible. It's very possible. And that's where our track coaches have to put, and the officials have to put their heads together. You know, when you have the Americans, the Britons, the Jamaicans, because those are the main track countries when it comes to short distance running. So they have to actually condition him. They have to psych him. They have to also caution him to be able to get the best out of this. It depends on the semi-final lineup. We'll look at it, and if he's lucky, at least he shouldn't burn himself out. What he should do, he should try and see if he can at least qualify for the final. That's the most important thing. And once he does that, go all out on the last leg, because that is the final showcase. But try as much as he can. He should try as much as he can to ensure that he gives the right amount of energy and sprint to make it into the finals. Because if he gives everything now, by the time the final, we come to the grand finale, the occasion will be burnt out. He might be overwhelmed. Then, like you talked about, inexperience might come into play. Yeah. Stage fright, like, oh my God, this is it. You know, that kind of thing can also be negative when you have that kind of heavy burden. But when you also go at that age with that carefree attitude, I have to prove him, that Mbappe spirit, he can do it. Yeah.
All right, let's talk some football, as ex-international and FIFA Under-17 World Cup winning coach Emmanuel Amuneke has been unveiled as the new coach of Heartland ahead of the 2024-2025 season. Amuneke was unveiled by the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, at the new executive chamber of the government house, Owerri. His appointment comes after working with the club in the capacity of a consultant and having taken charge of the former Nigerian Champions Open screening last month. Before taking the job, the former Nigerian forward was linked with the Super Eagles job, which was eventually handed to new Rivers United coach Finidi George. The details of the contract were not revealed, just as Heartland's fate of playing in MPFL next season is still hanging in the balance following their relegation last season. The Nazi Millionaires are reportedly in talks with the newly promoted club Beyond Limits to acquire their slot, but officials from Imo State have cooled rumors about the deal. It's a very interesting report.
Yeah.
Just as their fate, do you think that would be a good thing for Heartland to acquire the slot of Beyond Limits? Wouldn't that be disservice to those players, the coaching crew of Beyond Limits, and wouldn't that stunt their growth?
Actually, that question will go to the proprietor of Beyond Limits, because already it's been established that Beyond Limits was the youth feeder team of Remo Stars of Ikenne, And eventually they now did a little change of ownership structure,
yeah,
so that it now looks like it's a standalone. For me, there's no loss for Beyond Limits. Why do I say this? The club was actually, that particular feeder team was set up to discover talent.
Okay.
For me, they've lived up to it. They've gone beyond limits. If you look at it, these are young boys, 17, 16, 20, and beating teams silly. The other day, they beat El Merreikh of Sudan, one of the biggest teams
in
Africa. And it was clinical. You need to watch their style of play. Fantastic. Like, you won't believe that. Is this a Nigerian team? They went to Italy the other day to win that youth championship that no African team has won for over 30 years. So, look, they've overachieved. And if you look at it, if they have to sell their slot because of issues of money, financial,
yeah,
it's okay. For me, I think the owner has made a point. What you should just do is keep that team to keep churning out
more
talent.
Like and that. Keep selling, become the Ajax of Nigeria.
Exactly. As for Emmanuel Amunike, this is your biggest opportunity to prove your point. Now, a lot of Nigerians are still angry that Emmanuel Amunike was not considered when
the Super Eagles job.
For the Super Eagles job. But now, we now want to see him in the Nigerian scene.
Well, this would be a good test between both ex-internationals. Rivers United for Finidi George. Heartland for Were.
That is if Heartland actually buys that slot.
Yeah.
Definitely. We will now, in fact, you know, I must say something. The Nigerian league is becoming competitive and interesting thanks to social media. Banter, setting up of a banter sites. It's now generating organic interest. So definitely the controversy between who should have been the Super Eagles coach will definitely fuel a Heartland Rivers United clash. It will be a tasty affair.
Fair.
But you see, again, even if Heartland doesn't eventually stay up in the Premier League, if they stay in the NNL, it's still an opportunity for Emmanuel Amunike to build his football philosophy. So either which way, he has not lost. Remember, he's from the Barcelona school, La Masia. Let him. So if they don't make it to the MPFL, then now he will use the opportunity to build the team in his image. Then we can now say, okay, this is Amunike's style of play. If they go to MPFL, yes, there will be
probably
pressure.
he could build that team to turn the national, because there were times when our local Super Eagles team was majorly made of home-based players. So let's look at the next talking point. We got Victor Osimhen in the news, as Victor Osimhen has ruled out a move to Chelsea this summer, dealing the London club a significant blow in the pursuit of the Napoli striker. The Blues have been active in the summer transfer windows, securing the signature of Tosin Adara Bioyo and Caleb Willie, Omari Kellyman and Philippe Jorgensen, amongst other players. But what of interest for us is Osimhen actually going to leave Napoli? Don't you think probably Antonio Conte might at the end decide to have him for the season?
The thing is that it's not just about Osimhen staying in Napoli. Lukaku, a certain Romano Lukaku, wants to play for Napoli. He's ready to take a pay cut, wants to prove himself. He's already on the wrong side of 31, heading to 32. He wants to solidify that name, having done well at Roma. He wants to make that for Osimhen.
Well, is he a better fit than Osimhen for Napoli?
For me, it depends on the formation that the coach wants to play. There are two ways. Maybe he can be the headbanger, or he could be the foil that brings others into play. But for Osimhen, I'm really worried for him now, because his stock has actually dropped. And I want to believe three reasons. He has been having a test relationship with Napoli for some time.
Yeah, true.
Then the bad outing at AFCON, where he was, due to no fault of his, the way Pesero played him. Then that outburst he had with Finidi. Those three things have now put him in a very bad spot. Now many big teams, then of course the outrageous money that the owner of Napoli slapped on him.
130 million euros.
Nobody wants to pay that now when there's a kind of recession staring us in the face, except Osimhen wants to take a pay cut. Or if Napoli and Chelsea can agree on a loan deal, I don't see what... I mean, when this issue of loan came up, there was this, why should he go on loan? Why shouldn't he go on loan? Doesn't he want to play in Premier League? He has always had that passion to play in the Premier League, and Chelsea was always his destination. Now, Arsenal has not really shown that interest in Osimhen. So if I were Victor Osimhen, I would do everything in my power, because the truth is, right now, Chelsea lacks character. They are a shadow of themselves.
Wouldn't that further destroy his career if he goes to a team that is not focused, so to say?
Not quite so. In a way, you have a point, yes, but you know, right now, there's no leader in Chelsea. Chelsea is leaderless. I'm sorry to say, Chelsea fans, please don't take it personal. It's not from my heart, but I'm just saying it as it is.
Let's wrap it up, yeah.
But the thing is, if Osimhen goes to Chelsea, that fighting spirit, that hustling, he will bring it.
Spirit.
Yes, because that is what is missing in Chelsea. You know why Chelsea was so strong then? It's because they had leaders. Ballack, Drogba, Mikel, Essien, you name them, Carvalho, John Terry, Peter Cech. So they had captains, national team captains with personality, and they gave it to them. So for now, Chelsea does not have personality. I don't know what Ball is doing. Like, he's just playing draft with Chelsea.
All right, so let's see what Maresca will be able to do this season. I want to say a big thank you to the factioner, or yes, interim president of the Nigerian Boxing Federation, in the person of Azania Omagege, for joining us in the studio and helping us highlight what went wrong with Nigerian boxers at the Olympics. And I want to say a big thank you to Mazino Dixon. Always a pleasure having him.
My pleasure.
In the live studios, helping us do the analysis of all the big stories making the rounds. My name is Anthony Momo, the King of Sports, saying thank you for joining us on a very exciting edition of the program Talk Sports. Let's do this again tomorrow. Good morning. Thank you.